Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Intuitive Angling, and appreciate you guys swinging by the channel to spend some of your day with me. Always grateful to have you guys around here. And today, guys, I want to talk about, just have a little conversation. If there's 3 bass fisheries you guys could go to, what, in my opinion, the best 3 fisheries to go to? Now, I'm not talking in terms of just absolute going out there and wrecking the fish. I mean, these are good fisheries that I'm going to talk about, but I'm going to talk about the entire experience between these 3 bodies of water, as far as the fishing, the aesthetics, the energy of the place, just everything about it. I've had a chance to fish on almost every well-known major body of water in this country, literally over the past 40 years. So I've got, and a lot of them I've fished multiple times, lots of times. So I've got a pretty good pulse on what's cool and what's not out there. So I'm going to give you guys my 3 favorite places to go if I could fish, just from every part of the bass fishing experience. Also, guys, before we get started, just a quick invitation. I'd just like to invite everybody, if you haven't had a chance, to please consider subscribing here to Intuitive Angling. Just hitting that subscribe button is free and easy. More guys we can get subscribing and liking the channel, the more it pushes the channel out there, and that's much appreciated here by me and my family. And also, guys, a big thank you to everybody that's taken the next step and using all my links I put in the descriptions of every video description to support the channel, especially you guys that are ordering those my Fish the Moment lake map breakdowns and using my Tackle Warehouse link. I really appreciate that, and so does my family, so thank you very much for that. Okay, now one of the things I talk about a lot here on the channel is I don't put as much emphasis on catching fish. Don't get me wrong, guys, I love to catch fish as much as anybody else, but for me, the bass fishing experience, it's more diverse, and the layers of richness in the bass fishing experience go way beyond just catching fish. Because I can tell you guys, one thing I'll tell you about bass fishing is I've had some days out there where it's every cast. I'm literally catching them every single cast. It gets boring after a while, and it loses the specialness of it when you're just catching fish over and over and over again. It's just like, you know, the old philosophical question. It's like, if everything you could touch turns to gold, you know, that would be a living hell eventually. So if you went out there and caught fish every cast and just ripped them every single trip, that would be a living hell for tournaments, for fishing eventually. So this experience of everything else around the fishing on these lakes is what's really important. Okay, so here's the 3 lakes, guys, I would suggest going to for the overall bass fishing experience. And not in any particular order. These are just the top 3 in my opinion. Number 1, Potomac River in Maryland. Potomac River is a really good bass fishery. There's not a lot of big fish in it, but there's a lot of quality bass in the Potomac River. There's a lot of 2 to 3 pound fish in that system there. And it's completely different than anything else, because when you get to the Potomac River, you've got a tremendous amount of historical heritage on that system. You can go up there and you can see George Washington's home up on the hillside of the Potomac River. You know, all of our nation's history revolves around there. It's got, you know, you go up on the upper end of the Potomac River and you can see Washington, D.C. You can see the monument. You can see all that type of stuff. So it's got a lot of historical value to it. And the fishery is super diverse. It's a tidal fishery, so you got a pretty significant tidal fluctuation. You've got a combination of like fresh water, brackish water, and salt water, depending upon how far you go up and down the system. If you run down the river much, you can get into straight salt water. If you run up the river long ways, you get in pure fresh water, smallmouth. And you got a lot of diversity of fishing habitat. You got lily pads, you got grass beds, you got boat docks, you got lay down trees, you got shell bars, you got pilings. It's just, there's a lot there to fish. It's a large fishery, it's a complex fishery, and it's just a cool place to be, man. It really is. There's a lot going on there, and the tidal fluctuations make things where they're just changing all the time. So once you get on the river, it's cool. Now, I'm telling you something right now. The area around Potomac River is not any place you really want to be in. The traffic's terrible. There's a lot of weird stuff going on, but once you get on the river at the Potomac River, it's just a really, really good experience. Okay, the next one with that, guys, you've heard me talk about this a lot, is Lake Mead in Nevada. Lake Mead is my favorite lake in the country, by far. The fishing on Lake Mead, when you compare it to other fisheries across the country, it's probably considered an average bass fishery, but the aesthetics make up for it, guys. Unless you have been on Lake Mead and you've smelled the sagebrush in the air, and you felt that dry desert wind, and you look across there, and the landscape of Lake Mead is untouched. It looks like it did 5,000 years ago. Most of the area around Lake Mead, there's no evidence of civilization whatsoever. There's no building, there's no people, there's nothing out there except for all the freaking helicopters that fly back and forth between Las Vegas and the Grand Canyon, which excuse me, sort of ruins the experience, because those things are freaking flying over constantly back and forth over there. But the experience of Lake Mead, just the aesthetic, energetical feeling of being on that body of water, is unlike anything else you've ever seen. You've got vertical canyon walls that go hundreds of feet up in the air. You've got areas of it that look like vast deserts with sand. You got the vegetation is unique to that area. It's a big lake. You can run a long way on it. It's got a lot of real clear water, and I just love fishing there. I mean, if you gave me a tournament schedule, Lake Mead would be on that tournament schedule every single year. And then the area around is cool. The drive around Lake Mead, it's deserty. You got Las Vegas right there. There's probably 20 miles from the lake or so, 15 miles. And really, really cool place to fish, man. It is. If you ever get a chance to go to Lake Mead, try to go all over the lake. And I think personally the best part of Lake Mead is that, as far as what I'm talking about, is up there sort of in that Temple Bar area. You've got several large basins, and you've got a lot of like canyonways that are narrow that open up into these large basins. But you get up there around Temple Bar, and it really gives you a diversity of how the lake lays out and feels there. Okay, and the last one, guys, now this is for just pure fish catching and a little bit of aesthetics too, is Lake St. Clair in Michigan. Everybody that fishes for bass has heard of Lake St. Clair. Lake St. Clair is, I think, probably the best smallmouth fishery in the country, for sure. A lot of people would argue that St. Lawrence River is, but the St. Lawrence River is completely different. It's set up completely different than Lake St. Clair. Lake St. Clair has got a tremendous amount of 3 to 4 pound smallmouth in it. And it's not a lake where you go up there and catch like 50 a day. You'll go up on Lake St. Clair and you may catch, 15 or 20 today, but they're all 3 to 5 pounders, when you catch one. And the cool thing about Lake St. Clair is, like, you can see these fish all the time. The water is just aqua blue. That's one of my favorite things about St. Clair is the water has this unique clarity to it. So when you fight a smallmouth, you can see them fighting almost all the way back to the boat. You got a diversity of, you got some shallow cover, like shallow rocks. You got a mix of grass, different type of cabbage grass, hard bottoms. There's just a ton of good fish up there. And, there is dead water in the lake, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of fishable water, not only in Lake St. Clair, but the bordering, Detroit River, Lake Huron. You can access the Great Lakes through that. Worst thing about Lake St. Clair is Detroit, Michigan. Guys, Detroit, Michigan it's not the best place to be in. I'll tell you right now. It's a pretty shady town to be in. No offense if you live in Detroit, but you know what I'm talking about. It's really run down. It's sort of got it. It really needs a lot of work up there. But Lake St. Clair, man, it's got the smallmouth fishing up there is just phenomenal in terms of a public body of water of smallmouth. Another thing about Lake St. Clair is that if you go fishing like on the St. Lawrence River and Lake Ontario, you're really limited by the weather. The weather has a tremendous amount of limitation on where you can fish out there. But Lake St. Clair, even if it's windy, you can always find some place to fish there, and you can drift through these flats. But I'll tell you how good this place is, guys. The last tournament I fished up there, this was before the cheater box too, so it was back when you were just real bass fishing. I had, in that tournament, it was an FLW tournament, and the first 2 days of the tournament, I had a total of 39 pounds and 14 ounces. Basically 40 pounds for 10 smallmouth, 4 pound average, and I finished 37th place in the tournament, and that was a tournament without the cheater box. So that gives you any indication of the quality. Lake St. Clair is one of those places that if you catch a 15-pound bag of smallmouth, you're gonna, and there's 150 people in the tournament, and it's a pro type field tournament, you're gonna finish about in 130th or 140th place with a 3-pound average. That's how good the fishery is up there. So anyway, guys, that's 3 places I'd recommend: Potomac River, Lake Mead, Lake St. Clair. Overall, just the entire bass fishing experience, really, really cool. There's a lot of other ones out there that I could talk about. Maybe we'll do some videos on the second tier there next. But here's the main thing about fishing to me. It's like, I want, now, don't get me wrong, St. Clair and Potomac River, you do see people. But my idea of the perfect fishing day, and why I like Lake Mead so much, is I don't want to see anything. I don't want to see another boat. I don't want to hear another boat. I don't want to see another person. I don't want to see a house. I don't want to see a car. I don't want to see an airplane. I don't want to see anything except the boat I'm in and the bass fishing that I'm doing. That's, to me, that is the perfect bass fishing experience. And I've had a couple days like that on Lake Mead where I didn't see anybody. I could have fished out there completely naked all day long and it wouldn't have mattered. Nobody would have been around. So anyway, guys, hope you're well. We'll talk later.